MJ. I am the co-director of our real estate and construction program here. And you are standing in our headquarters. So this is a building that our founder and CEO bought a few years ago. And to give you some history as to how that came to be, I'll start with a brief introduction of how we started, because it's pretty interesting, has some ties to our real estate background, and then it kind of goes into what we're doing today. So our founder and CEO, Saeed Amidi, he was a pretty traditional business guy. When it came to the businesses that he owned, he actually had a water bottle and packaging business out of Spain, delivering those 5-gallon jugs of water over there. He also had a rug store, which is where you see all these nice Persian rugs on the ground. And then alongside that, he had a pretty extensive real estate portfolio. So I don't know if you're familiar with Palo Alto or the geography of Palo Alto, but of the tech world and startups starting to emerge, and he decided that he wanted to make his way out of his businesses and into the world of tech and investing. So what he decided to do was lease out one of his buildings that he owned as office space to startup tenants. And so the first 3 startup tenants that came through his building were Logitech, PayPal, and Google.
That's a great start.
Yes. And so the first one was Logitech. So Luigi Zappapasta approached him and basically he was a landlord to Logitech, and they got too big for his building, essentially IPO'd out of his building. And after that, he told himself, you know what, I should have invested in that company. I'm going to invest in the next one that comes through my doors. And that happened to be Google when it was Larry and Sergey. And so he watched them grow from about 2 employees to 50 employees until they also got too big for his building and moved out. And then during that time, while he was their landlord, he also had the opportunity to invest in them through a friend of his, angel fund. And then to round out the story for you, of the 3 big companies was PayPal. Max Levchin and Peter Thiel approached him also for office space. And at the time, PayPal was still, it was emerging, but it wasn't quite, it didn't quite have the numbers that Saeed was looking for. So he didn't trust them to pay rent on time, actually. And so what he ended up doing was negotiating 2 years of rent up front from PayPal, and he invested the 2nd year of rent back into the company as equity. And that turned out pretty well for him also when they were acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion a few years later. So what they're doing is they're helping dictate the focus areas, and they're helping really choose what we should focus on. So for example, within the real estate and construction vertical, what we're really trying to do is bring together industry-leading corporations who are focused on innovation, and then within that program, we'll run a 3-month accelerator. So yeah, within each of those programs, basically all of our corporate partners that are part of the real estate vertical will help choose the focus of it and choose the startup that will then go through a 3-month accelerator program. So really the big difference between these two is where here in the deal flow sessions, it's very specifically focused on individual corporations. Where they're really focusing on improving themselves, meeting technology and companies that are really helping them. Some of these companies like SoundHound has now reached unicorn status at $1 billion. But to give you some overview of our portfolio as a whole, about 1% of the companies that we've invested in have reached $1 billion in valuation, and about 10% have reached $100 million in valuation.